to the tavern. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Mad World. Check them out at www.itsworldmadness.com. Tonight, our special guest is Alex Conway, author, activist, and founder of the LGBTQ Joy. He is a graduate from Brown University and has spent the last decade working as a clinical physiologist. He now specializes in coaching those who have been stigmatized for who or how they love, helps them to feel seen, connected, and inspired to become the best versions of themselves. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight,
I'm
Brandon?
doing fantastic. It is a pleasure to have you here. Like I said, we have a wonderful family out there that is very happy and excited to have you on the show tonight. We've got a lot of first timers in the chat, so you have brought a lot of people to see our family. And before you came on, we probably already got another 12 new followers just ready because of you. So
Oh my
that's
God,
pretty
that's
cool.
amazing.
It's going to
Woohoo!
be a good night. Let me open up with our first question. Can you tell me about your journey to becoming an advocate for mental health and wellness and the LGBTQ plus issues?
Yes. So I started off with the ACLU in Michigan, and I'm their LGBTQ project. And so I was involved with some of the cases, gaining, traction for the LGBTQ plus community, including the recent case that was in the Supreme Court with Anime Stevens. So I was in the very early stages of that. And I worked with the Trevor Project, which is a leading organization for LGBTQ plus youth that are in crisis. And so I started off there and I really enjoyed my work, but I knew that I had to do more. And so I went to grad school to learn the technical skills to make a greater difference. And here I'm at now.
I love the fact that you said you went to school to make a greater difference. You understood how much, how do I explain that? You understood how powerful of a cause it was and said, I'm actively going to do something about this. It wasn't just, hey, I support this or hey, I feel this way. You actively did something to try to make a difference. And I think that is pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So our next question here is, how do you define joy? And what is the most, or why is it important to cultivate that in our lives?
That's a great question. I think joy can be seen as many different things, but ultimately something that brings you happiness, something that you're excited about, something that just lifts you up and makes you feel a sense of happiness and inner joy, things like that. And I think it's important because life can be tough. Let's be real. And there's a lot of things out there that make us sad, that bring us down. And if we focus all of our energy on that, it leads to what's called a downward spiral, where we start thinking about the negative things in our lives. We start feeling sad. We start focusing more and more on that. And if we just flip that and say, yes, sadness is a part of life, but there's so much more. Let's focus on what's so much more. Let's focus on what brings us joy. Let's focus on our connections in life. Let's focus on those hobbies. Let's focus on things that just make us smile and feel good.
Absolutely. I love the way you describe that. And it's something that's bringing me joy right now. Your background is fantastic. I love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So one of the questions on here that I was interested in your opinion, what are some common misconceptions about mental health and wellness, and how can we combat those?
So I think there's a lot of shame and stigma around the idea of mental health in general. Speaking from someone who has the background in clinical psychology and has spent the last decade in this field, a lot of the times, a lot of my clients were afraid to come and ask for help, specifically in the LGBTQ plus community, where, for lack of a better word, the psychological community has not always been the most supportive.
Absolutely.
And so if you tell somebody that an aspect of their identity is somehow abnormal or wrong, they're going to be afraid to talk to you. And while there's a lot of good that can come from psychology and the understanding of the mind, and all of these things are wonderful, the tools and techniques can be used to be helpful. However, before you're able to help somebody, you have to first come up with a diagnosis. You
Yes,
first have to come up with a label of you are wrong because of X, Y, and Z. And if you do A, B, and C, you will feel happier.
absolutely.
And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that approach, but I think it leaves a lot of people out. I think it leaves a lot of people being afraid that there's nothing wrong with me, but yet I'm not happy in life. There's
Yes,
nothing wrong with me, but I'm struggling to find a relationship. And if I go to see this person, they are going to make it seem like I am somehow flawed before they can help. And so that's one of the reasons why I launched this new coaching business, to help anybody around the world who's ever felt that way, who felt that there's something different about me. I like somebody of the same gender, of the same sexual orientation. Um, I'm into things differently in the bedroom, whatever it may be, no matter who you love or how you choose to love, that's beautiful and that's worthy of being celebrated and deserves
yes,
to be with somebody who sees that, and also can give you some concrete skills on how to improve your life and how to have a better quality of life and how to have more joy ultimately.
I love that. I love that. So I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to a question here that is personal to me, and I am excited to hear your take on it. So me and Landon both are straight white males. So tell me your personal take on this. Where was it here? I've got like 20 different questions to go through with you. I don't know if we're gonna get through all of them, so now I got to find it.
No worries,
Um,
take your time.
how can allies better support the LGBTQ plus community, specifically in the realm of mental health?
I think allies can be a really important role in the community in general, whether that is being an ally for the LGBTQ plus community, whether that's being an ally for communities of color, whether that's being an ally in terms of communities that have different learning disabilities or physical abilities. I think being an ally is an important part of our journey to making this a more joyful and equitable world. And the way in which we do that is by recognizing a few things. One, recognizing that we do have a difference in our power and our privilege just by showing up. Similarly to you, I also look like a white male identifying person. And so if
Yes.
someone were to see me on the streets, I have a lot of those same challenges, so to say, that what can I do? And what
Yes.
you can do is allow the individuals a seat at the table. Allow them the opportunity to speak from their own experience without a sense of fear, without a sense of shame, without a sense of stigma, and to just show up for who they are. Because I think ultimately that is something that is so human that connects all of us. We all have the
Absolutely.
same core needs to be seen for who we are. What are our differences? What are our unique traits? What makes us us? We all have the need to feel connected to other people who have that shared sense of belonging, that shared passion, whether it's showing up to podcasts like this or whether it's your sexual orientation. And we all have the need to feel inspired to become something better than us. So recognizing that at a deeper level, that something so human allows it hopefully to be something that we're all able to do. I don't have to understand you. I don't have to have your same lived backgrounds, but I can show up. I can allow you space to be you. I can ask what is needed, and I can use my power to help elevate and lift up what your message is. And that's the same for if it's LGBTQ, it's the same as if it's race, ethnicity, any other aspect of our life that requires allyship.
I love the way you described that because that is the core beliefs of the tavern. The whole reason that we started this, me and Landon both are neurodivergent, and the whole point of the tavern is that if you are at a point in your life where like your social battery is at zero, you don't want to go out to the bar with your friends, you just want to go home and be alone, but you don't actually want to be alone. So you get your favorite snack, you get your favorite drink, and you curl up in the bed and you come hang out at the tavern. You don't know who we're going to have on the show, you don't know what we're going to talk about, but you know you're going to have a safe space where you can hang out with friends, you can get questions answered, you can learn something new, because you really don't know who we're going to talk about tonight. You don't know what we're going to bring up, but everyone has a safe space to be themselves and to voice what they need to talk about. So the variety of guests we have on the show is endless because we want everyone to be included at the tavern. That is the whole point of this place, is to be a safe, inclusive spot for everyone.
I think that's so beautiful. And especially since, as you said, both of you identify as straight and male. And so the fact that you're able to even bring someone like me to the table speaks
Oh,
volumes
absolutely.
about what type of place this is. And also, being someone who's also neurodivergent, recognizing that shared common connection between
Yes.
those that are neurodivergent and those that are queer, and how it's both a very similar way of viewing the world through a slightly different lens, and recognizing those differences and in fact celebrating those differences,
Yes.
something that is so beautiful, and you guys do such a phenomenal job of it by creating
Thank
this in
you.
the first place.
People sometimes they don't understand when it comes to like neurodivergent, for example, how differently the world moves for us. You know, one of the biggest challenges for me specifically is like sensory overload. There's too
Mhm.
much going on, and you feel like the world just needs to be quiet for a moment. But the world's never quiet. We don't live in a quiet world. So it's very different. It's very hard for someone like that. So those same kind of challenges can also be applied, you know, for the LGBTQ community, for example. You know, the world doesn't stop because you're facing a challenge. So then how do we overcome those challenges? How do we support others when they arise? Because they may be going into their own similar state of panic, and how do I help them? How do I be that friend and partner they need right now? It's same as if I was going into one of my sensory overloads, how did they be the friend and partner I need in my challenge at the moment? So I think it's beautiful that we get to talk about these things and raise awareness of joy in every aspect, you know. um,
Absolutely.
let's see here, next question. How do you see the field of mental health and wellness evolving within the next 5 to 10 years?
Hopefully, this path becomes more inclusive. I think the first step
Yes.
is to recognize that there is an issue so that this issue can be addressed. The majority of individuals going into the mental health field right now are women. And that is beautiful, that is wonderful. And
Yes.
also needs to be at the same time more voices. There needs to be more members of color. There needs to be more members from the LGBTQ community. There needs to be more members from the neurodiverse community. And if those perspectives are not at the table, then there's a lot that
Mhm.
is missing. If the only perspective that is there
Absolutely.
is someone that is male, that is white, that is of privilege and of power, I think those views are
Yes.
great because a part of those views are human and can be applied to
Yes.
anybody, but they also
But it
miss the
skews the outcome.
context of what makes us different and what makes us diverse. And if that's not at the forefront of how we're deciding these things and part of that intentional view, it's going to miss a lot of people moving forward. So
Yes.
I think just
I completely
making it
agree.
easier, making it in terms of economic opportunities, whatever we need to do, helping those at the bottom so that everybody gets lifted up is going to make a massive difference.
You know, it's funny that you worded it that way because Landon has a little analogy for how he views the world. Landon, if you're free, do you want to pop in and talk about the mountain?
I wasn't prepared to speak today, but so my analogy for the mountain is right. Uh, Life is like a mountain, right? And we're not mountain climbers, but we have to climb the mountain, right? And it starts we start climbing up or whatever. We get a little ways up there and we fall, and uh, it hurts, right? But we're stubborn as humans. So we get back up and we go and climb some more, and through that we start getting a little stronger, and we get a little higher on the mountain, and we still fall down. And it hurts, right? And there's times where we just don't want to get back up, but we got fellow mountain climbers who have been doing this for years, climbing this mountain of life, comes by and says, "Hey man, you should try getting some like mountain climbing gear." And you're like, "Wow, I didn't think about that." So you take that advice from somebody who's been doing this for a while, and you go get some mountain climbing gear, and before you know it, you're starting to climb further up in the mountain, and you might fall again, but it's not as bad because you're stronger for it. Eventually, you finally get to the top of the mountain, and you look out and you see this beautiful realm of the world, and it's gorgeous. But the one thing that we can't do is we can't just stay there and mount our flag up. What we really have to do is we have to turn around and extend our hand out to help the next person up that mountain. It's a community, and everything is a basis off love. That's what we're put on this planet for, is to love each other and to be one with each other and the world. That's
Yes,
that's
sir.
kind of my
That's so
belief.
beautiful. And that really speaks to something that I think is at a deeper level and so important. Uh, the idea is enlightenment. So, enlightenment is a state of being in Buddhism where
Yes.
we're living authentically in the moment with compassion. And the idea is that this is a state that we can get to. There's challenges living authentically, there's challenges being present, there's challenges being compassionate, but we're capable of getting there. And once we get to that point, don't just stay there. Turn around and help other people get to that state as well. Turn around and give back. And give back in terms of compassion, give back in terms of lending a helping hand. But it's not enough just to get to the top of the mountain. How do we help other people experience this view as well? How do we hopefully make it a little bit easier now that we know that there's a mountain pick or whatever? How do we give that to others so that they have an easier journey up the mountain?
Exactly. I totally agree. Let me see. Sorry. What my next question? We had gone through so many good questions here for you. What are some ways that we can create a more inclusive and accepting community for the LGBTQ plus community?
I think ultimately at its core, it's around differences and it's around diversity and it's around celebrating those,
Yes.
celebrating what makes us all unique, what makes us all different, and realizing that there is strength in those differences and there is a new perspective to learn that can hopefully make us a better and stronger person. So the more that we are accepting of our differences, whether it's neurodivergent, whether it's sexual orientation, whether it's race, whatever it is, whether it's just strengths, maybe somebody's really good at basketball or really good at mathematics, that's amazing. Let's utilize those differences, let's utilize those strengths, and let's celebrate them. Let's up
Yes.
them. Let's make sure that we are really doing what we can to highlight those instead of you're different, therefore you're wrong, and you should minimize it. You should shame around it. You should feel stigma behind it. Let's really kind of flip that perspective and see the type of magic we can create.
Absolutely. And I think it all comes back to what Landon said. It's based on love. Like why
Mhm.
why is it so hard to just love one another these days?
Love
So
each other and also love yourself. I think
yes.
that's a massive part as well to this love is we need to love each other. And for some people, they have a harder path to get to that. But also, we really need to focus each day on how do we love ourselves a little bit more? How do we give ourselves some of that love that we may or may not be getting from others in order to ultimately do the same thing, which is to lift ourselves up so that we can become a better version of ourselves and so that we can give more love to others?
Yes.
So I think one thing that you really touch base on, which a lot of people don't really understand, is that you have to learn how to love yourself before you can love anybody else properly. If you don't find that self love, then you can't really have any kind of relationship. And it's a tough battle, because what do you really like? What do you really want to do? You have to date yourself, and that's the biggest thing. It's a self-love constantly pops up in a lot of our conversations that we
It
have on this
really does.
podcast. But it's so true in every aspect of what you do and how you go about things, because you only really know how you love yourself, and you know how you want other people to love you, and it gives you a broader spectrum of how you can love other people. I practice druidry. I believe that, we are all part of the earth. We are one. Everything breathes and lives, and there's an energy source and stuff, and it ties all of that into itself. It's all love and compassion and hope.
Just my little hippie man, ain't you?
Yes.
Just a little hippie, man.
And I love that you said that. And I love that this message is coming from both of you, and that you represent kind of more of the heterosexual straight community, because in the LGBTQ plus community, there's a very famous popular show, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Uh-huh.
And every episode ends with, if you cannot love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else? Can I get an amen? And
Yeah.
so I think it is
Amen.
beautiful that this message is being echoed in many different types of communities, and hopefully all of our viewers can hear it and really kind of internalize it, and just give themselves a hug, give themselves that meaning of love, and just know that they are loved by us, by everybody, and hopefully each day gets a little bit easier and brings themselves more joy, more love. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So I see we are getting kind of close. I think we can squeeze in one more question before Landon's little bombshell he drops. How can we better educate ourselves and others on mental health and LGBTQ issues?
I think there's many different ways. So bringing it to different learning styles, different abilities. So how do you learn best? So if you're more of a visual learner, go out and look at some videos, go out and watch some documentaries about the field. If you are more of a audio learner, doing podcasts, things like this can be really helpful. Or if you like to do books, look at the research, read some articles, read some books out there, read some blogs, find whatever style works for you. But ultimately, it does require putting in the work. And
Yes.
so to recognize that this is something that is different, this is something I'm not aware of, that's okay. There's a lot of people out there who've spent a lot of their lives to try and understand this and to try and convey it in different ways. So just find those people that you connect with, find those people and those styles that work for you, and put in the work. And again, there's no wrong way. So if anybody is struggling or needs help, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here as a resource. But ultimately, whatever is going to work for you in a way that's going to be enjoyable for you to learn the material. So hopefully it sticks.
Absolutely. Landino, my main man, you think you're ready?
Well, I'm always ready to ask the question. But Alex, fun fact, this question has actually been used on me 3 different times. So
Uno reverse card.
that's right. Yeah. So I can feel the pain and suffering that you might feel from this. So here we go. What is one question that you wish we would have asked you, and how would you have answered that?
That's a great question.
Puts you on the spot.
I think ultimately my mission is to bring people joy, to bring people happiness. And so I would want to know some concrete ways to do that. Some simple strategies that each person can do each day to help them feel more centered and to bring them more joy. And to answer that, there's a few ways I would do it. So the first thing is by helping people practice mindfulness more throughout the day. So mindfulness, for the viewers who do not know, is just being in the present moment with acceptance, so without judgment. And so one way of doing that is through breathing exercises. that can kind of help you center yourself. And another way is to think about what brings you joy in life. So whether it's a song, whether it's a book, whether it's going for a walk in your neighborhood, and doing that each day mindfully. The other thing is kind of having gratitude. So being grateful for what we do have in our lives instead of what we don't, as well as savoring. So if something brings you joy, the idea is to savor it. So if I really like a cup of coffee, instead of sipping it in 2 minutes and being done, really slowing it down and making that coffee last for 20 minutes. So taking the things in our life that already bring us joy and just increasing it, slowing it down, and allowing ourselves to experience more joy.
I love that. I love. Sorry. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I love that, especially the coffee analogy.
Yep.
It's a tavern. We love our coffee here.
Coffee, on the rare occasion, the booze.
You
But,
know,
that,
you have a
Yeah.
tavern with a couple drinks. So I just want to take the time to say thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show, for spreading that message of joy, for being on a platform that you weren't sure about. You're coming on with two straight white males, and you're not sure what to get into, but realizing it's all about love, it's all about acceptance, it's all about being able to share your voice. And I want to reach out to our audience over on Reality and just say thanks for all the new people who showed up. I mean, 2,429 likes, right, for you, Alex. They
That's
were
amazing. Oh
all
my
in
God,
today.
amazing.
They were ready to go for you tonight. They're very happy.
I'm
Is there
so,
anything that
I'm
you would
so
like to
grateful,
say?
and it's such a pleasure to be here as well. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be at this table to help spread that message of love. If anybody out there feels that they're having a difficult time with who they are or how they love, please reach out. Also, since right now there is a large number of anti-LGBTQ laws sweeping the nation. If you live in a state where that is happening, all of your sessions are free until the end of the month. So please help spread the word to reach those most in need. And I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Yeah, because we definitely got to have you back. I didn't
Yeah,
get through
just-
all 20 questions at all.
Just to reiterate what Brandon said, again, I personally thank you for coming on the show. We never know what to expect out here, but our show is built on the basis and foundation of love and acceptance from everybody of all different types of roles in their lives, and we're here for a safe space, if you will. So again, we thank you for being on the show. We definitely had a great episode here. We definitely want to see you back. To our audience, thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. We had 6 people watching today. We had a lot of people on Reality following us and listening in.
And 34 over on Reality.
Yeah. So thank you guys. We always strive to do better, and we're going to continue being awesome.
That's amazing. I love it.
So as always, guys, we love you. Love you, mean it. Thanks for being part of our hashtag Tavern family. You're always welcome. And as always, thanks for stopping by.